Good morning, everyone, and I'm really happy that we're going to have this conversation. It's a critical discussion that needs urgent attention, in my opinion, and I guess that everyone in this room agrees that Galamsey does need an urgent attention. We are just going to have a discussion, try to call the key people to action, and look forward to see how we can get responsible mining done in our country.
To this, to give us also a broad or historical background or basis from where the fight started from. What were the gains, what were the failures, and then where are we now today?
The fight has been led primarily by the media, with other people supporting it. The government comes in, touches and go in 2017. And then as media, we decided that we're not just going to be reporting it, but now we're going to advocate for the change. And so the media coalition was formed.
And as a kid, I used to go fishing in the Pram River. One day, I was going back to Pramkese, and I was shocked at the Milo color of the river that I used to see fishes in. That's what actually drove us into this action.
The problem is like the Guru Boys thing that government is trying to handle in Accra. There is always that informal way of doing things. And I think that maybe the time has come for us to look at those people who are in the informal sector who need to survive, and then begin to craft some policies that will bring them up a bit.
This particular fight is a multifaceted issue, but when I hear people talk about the issues about poverty, there's no poverty here. It's an issue of greed. A level of money that people are seeing.
A certain degree of failure of political leadership, and it's sad to see the citizenry look up to political leadership, and the reality that hits us is that there's no solution coming in that direction.
That's why I'm happy we are here, where we get academia involved, where we get researchers involved to find sustainable solutions to this.
One of the issues is the nature of people involved, because if one is looking for livelihood, his behavior will be different. If the other one is also looking to create wealth, the behavior will also be different. So therefore, we need to understand how these ones operate, where they are coming from. And therefore, when we are dealing with them, we also know how to deal with them.
The challenge we have is that the arsonists are the firefighters.
Good morning, everyone, and I'm really happy that we're going to have this conversation. It's a critical discussion that needs urgent attention, in my opinion, and I guess that everyone in this room agrees that Galamsey does need an urgent attention. We are just going to have a discussion, try to call the key people to action, and look forward to see how we can get responsible mining done in our country.
To this, to give us also a broad or historical background or basis from where the fight started from. What were the gains, what were the failures, and then where are we now today?
The fight has been led primarily by the media, with other people supporting it. The government comes in, touches and go in 2017. And then as media, we decided that we're not just going to be reporting it, but now we're going to advocate for the change. And so the media coalition was formed.
And as a kid, I used to go fishing in the Pram River. One day, I was going back to Pramkese, and I was shocked at the Milo color of the river that I used to see fishes in. That's what actually drove us into this action.
The problem is like the Guru Boys thing that government is trying to handle in Accra. There is always that informal way of doing things. And I think that maybe the time has come for us to look at those people who are in the informal sector who need to survive, and then begin to craft some policies that will bring them up a bit.
This particular fight is a multifaceted issue, but when I hear people talk about the issues about poverty, there's no poverty here. It's an issue of greed. A level of money that people are seeing.
A certain degree of failure of political leadership, and it's sad to see the citizenry look up to political leadership, And the reality that hits us is that there's no solution coming in that direction.
That's why I'm happy we are here, where we get academia involved, where we get researchers involved to find sustainable solutions to this.
One of the issues is the nature of people involved. Because if one is looking for livelihood, his behavior will be different. If the other one is also looking to create wealth, the behavior will also be different. So therefore, we need to understand how these ones operate, where they are coming from. And therefore, when we are dealing with them, we also know how to deal with them.
The challenge we have is that the arsonist
to get a better understanding from all of the speakers that moderated the various sessions. And so I'll start by reading some of the profile of the key persons that moderated the various sessions. I'm going to start with Engineer Michael Ali, the Director of Mining and Environmental Protection Agency. With over 26 years in the Environmental Protection Agency, Engineer Ali has been committed to advancing sustainable mining practices and environmental stewardship. As the current director and head of mining, he brings a robust skill set in environmental practices and awareness, ensuring that missions of companies in Ghana align with environmental compliance and protection. His core competences lie in seamlessly integrating environmental engineering technology into actionable policies and regulations, a testament to my tenure as director, not mine, because I'm not an engineer director yet. So to him, Engineer Ali. Now, he is committed to upholding the highest environmental standards and proud to contribute to quota to safeguarding Ghana's natural resource for future generations. Ladies and gentlemen, coming up stage to join the panel discussion is Engineer Michael Ali. Shall we please welcome him with a round of applause? Thank you so much, sir. So please sit to the next, no please, the next one. Thank you so much. Grateful. Moving to the next is Mr. Kofi Eboa, the General Secretary of the Association and Media Lawyer Lecturer at Wisconsin International University College, Ghana. He has practiced journalism for 30 years, having worked in the four state-owned media, Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, Graphic Communications Group Limited, New Times Corporation, and Ghana News Agency. He has also worked extensively in the private-owned media and across all the various media platforms, be it print, electronic, news agencies, and online. Mr. Kofi Eboa, a multiple award-winning journalist, is the author of the book Perils and Pearls, Scribbles of a Stammering Script. Very interesting book. Do we have some here we could get? Where can we get them? But I think we would get to find out later, which is an autobiography of his professional career. His academic and professional interest includes media freedom, media rights and ethics, media responsibility, development communication, democratic development, and human rights. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kofi Eboa, the General Secretary of Ghana Journalists Association. Thank you. We move to the only lady amongst the men, Awula Sewa. She is a lawyer and environmentalist known for her dedicated advocacy for environmental conservation. In the late 1980s, she founded the East La Environmental Group in Accra, promoting environmental awareness and tree planting. After moving to the UK, she established the BTWSC voluntary organization, which led environmental projects including taking a stand against fly tipping and littering. In 2003, She was elected a fellow of the Royal Society of Arts, and in 2007, she received a Brent Citizenship Award for her voluntary work. On her return to Ghana, Awula Sewa founded Eco-Conscious Citizens Group, which is working towards a clean, green, serene, and healthy environment. The organization focuses on promoting our natural heritage. Campaigns include protecting parks and gardens, lands, and asking for an audit of all parks and gardens land across Ghana, and raising awareness about adverse effects of open burning, noise pollution. She is part of the campaign against bauxite mining in at Etiwa Forest Reserve, Etiwa Forest Reserve. Thank you so much. Led by Erocha Ghana. She was part of the successful campaign to preserve the Sadema mahogany canopy trees in the Upper West region. She is passionate about ending illegal mining, and we all saw that during the conversation we were having. An ongoing ecocide. Awula Sewa has advocated for relocating Ghana's capital outside Greater Accra, possibly Kintampo, and building a green capital. In 2021, she was honored as the MIPAD Hero of Climate Change. Ladies and gentlemen, coming up is the gorgeous Awula Sewa. Let us welcome her upstage with a round of applause. So to moderate this panel discussion is none other than one of our favorite faculty person, Mr. Michael Yamwa. Shall we please welcome him upstage as he helps moderate this session? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lona. I was the last to call, and certainly not the least. Though I'm the least experienced among my senior colleagues here. Mr. Yeboah, of course, we are in the same industry. He's a journalist, I'm one myself. He's a media teacher, I'm one myself. But I'm here to get the number of experience he has. So I have a lot to learn from him today and then moving forward. And then Awula, oh, your name, of course, more than Awula, but Awula distinguished the civil society activist. And I'm happy to learn that you are in the forefront of the Tiwa forest being reserved for what it's meant for and not for mining. You're welcome. And then Dr. Michael Ali, my namesake. So I'm Michael myself. EPA, welcome. Yes, we are moving the discussions we had in our breakout session into this panel discussion with the theme from policy to practice. And of course, these are all practitioners within the field. You can pick your microphones. I think, yeah, 3 microphones if they are active. Okay. Maybe I can have your initial thoughts briefly on the sessions we had in your breakout sessions. Let's start from Mr. Yeboah. Okay. I think we were with a session that looked at social interventions. Social interventions. Okay. So your general perspective about the discussion, so that at least those who were not in the session can benefit from the discussions that went on. Then we'll look at specific issues.
Thank you very much. I think I was excited to be in that group, a group of young people, and I believe the solution lies in their hands to a very large extent. I must say, I am a stammering person. That is why the title of my book is captured that way. I found it interesting because I believe if you are finding a solution, we need to rely a lot on the youth. And from the discussions we had, I could sense they understand the issues, they are passionate about the issues, and that is a good beginning point. Once they understand the issues, they are passionate about the issues, then we can leverage that to work out for a solution. We discuss a lot of things. I particularly challenge them that they should not think somebody else has to do the job, but this is a job of all hands on deck, and that whatever small way they can contribute, especially by using their social media platforms to help address the issues. A lot of the time, we are using our social media to do very unproductive things. And I think if we can deploy those platforms to address an issue that is disturbing everyone in the country, it will go a long way to help everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Eboa. Aula, your perspective.
Well, I am very pleased that today was organized, but I can say honestly that with our group, I thought it was very interesting. But I was somewhat troubled by the fact that not many people had heard of the documentary Poisoned for Gold. Not many people had heard of award-winning journalist Erastus Asare Donko. And anybody who is concerned about illegal mining would have, I believe, heard of some of the journalists who have been in the forefront. And I think my concern is that we face an existential threat. We're on the verge of a catastrophe. And I kept on saying that I have more behind me than in front of me. So it's of concern that the young people, the future leaders, don't seem to have the information. They had not heard of LI 2462, which has been in the news for quite a while. So I think that today was an eye-opener for me because I sit in Uber. So what I do is that I engage the Uber drivers. I'm always having a conversation with them. And a lot of them, seem to know what is happening. But when they don't, they are interested in the information. We have a two-way engagement. So I'll just say that today has been very good, but we really, really need to understand that we're on the verge of a catastrophe. We face an existential threat, and we should all be concerned. And you can't engage if you don't know what is happening. So we should take it upon ourselves to find out what is going on around us. We owe it to ourselves. And might I end by saying that the Constitution mandates every single Ghanaian to protect the environment. So you have to know what is going on so that you can know the best way in which you can contribute. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Ali, you led, you were the engineer, Dr. Ali, okay.
Engineer, not doctor.
Oh, okay, Engineer Ali, okay, Michael Ali. Yes, you led the discussion on environment and health impacts, from the EPA perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear. We all see the impacts of illegal mining throughout the length and breadth of Ghana. I mean, it's very, very clear. You drive from Takwa to Obuasi and you see the devastation, and it's an eyesore. And these are prime farmlands that were for cocoa that have now been turned into, gullies and valleys filled with water and all that. And like during the first session, we're talking about cocoa. What happens to our cocoa? Now you realize that even the international community, the cocoa that we have, they'll tell you that it's wrought with a lot of chemicals, and so they may not even buy our cocoa. And so that becomes a very big problem for us. Now, looking at the other aspects of mercury usage and its impact on aquaculture, impact on vegetation, food crops, root tubers, and even fowls within the community. And I was telling them that in 2001, under a UNIDO project, we did 2 works in 2 illegal mining communities, Wasa Japa and then Dumasi. And you could find out that even people who are not into mining had high levels of mercury in their blood, mercury in their nails and their hair. And not only the human beings, the fowls within the community had high levels of mercury. The fishes within the riverine system in the communities had high levels of mercury, cocoyam, contumre, And so, like somebody mentioned, we thought it was them against us. But you are in Accra, you don't know where the contumely is coming from, and you are buying to eat. And like we always say, mercury is bioaccumulates, it doesn't degenerate. So once the fish takes it, it stays in the gills. You come, you buy the fish, tilapia, whichever, you eat, it stays in you. And then as you continue to eat these fishes that have mercury, the mercury continues to stay in you until you get to the excessive level. And then the medical impact starts showing forth. And so most of the things that we're looking at was, what do we do then? One of them that came up was, like my sister mentioned, the lack of education. People are not well known about these things. So education should be one of the key things, awareness creation. Let the people know that these are the dangers, and let's see how we can resolve this matter.
Okay, thank you, Engineer Ali. Yes, we will be looking at, I think one major thing that has come up is awareness. We think we are making so much noise about Galamsey, illegal mining, but yes, the message is not getting out there. In the session we had on social intervention, someone asked a key question, that there's been a series of demonstrations, series of press releases, everybody wants to belong, be part of the Galamsey issue or topic, but is it really making an impact? So I'm surprised, or not surprised anyway, to hear that the message is not really getting out there. So, Mr. Yeboah, I'll come to Dr. Ali, Mr. Engineer Ali later for the EPA perspective, because sometimes the blame gets to policy makers and implementers. But you being a media person and then also being the forefront of civil society, because Ghana General Association is one of the most powerful media tools we have in Ghana. And for purpose of record, this fight against Galamsey started as a media coalition project. So, say, will you admit you are not doing enough, or is it that there's more we can do, or the venues or avenues to channel these conversations are not rightly being used?
I think we have done our best. There's always room to do more. Since the media coalition against Galamsey was launched, before then we didn't pay much attention to the issue, even though it had been there. I remember way back in 2012, I was in the field in the Ashanti region, central region, doing articles on this issue. But I think it became a national issue. It was put on the front burner after the coalition took it up, and it was on the front pages, it was on radio and everywhere. And in my view, if you consider all the actors, the media have stayed the course far more than any other, including the security agencies and every other actor in the field. Because at a point in time when everyone abandoned the field, the media was still there. And Aula was talking about Erastus Asaridonko. So we had kept the campaign going, the fight going up to now. But I wouldn't say we have been able to achieve the outcomes we were expecting. Obviously, because of a few issues. Now, when you are going into the field, there are logistics you need. And in our breakout session, I was making the point about how you needed to be equipped. For example, when I came in, I was watching Oketechie, and he was talking about having to go and buy drone, 26,000. I can't afford that. And I bet you there are many media houses who may not be able to afford that. And even if you can afford it, you want to buy or invest in drone to go and be looking at mining communities when you need to be doing things that will bring you income to sustain your work. So lack of equipment have also affected us. even lack of laborers in the field, because we don't have many journalists doing that beat, simply because there are dangers involved, and not many people will want to go there. I was sharing that even when those in there come under attack, we all keep quiet. Okay, we don't denounce them. We don't show concern about them. Erastus has been attacked about 2 or 3 times, and one of them, he was nearly killed. But you hardly hear any outcry. And so sometimes even those in the field lose hope. And I always say journalism practice is about 90% of it is about passion. Okay, the day Erastus will lose passion, he will stop going to the field. The day Manasseh will lose passion, they will not do what they are doing. Because what they are doing are life-threatening. And it is only passion that has been carrying them there. And if you have a situation where you suffer harm and nobody is caring, then it will make you lose hope. And you will not get others wanting to go into that field. And I was also sharing that if you look at the communication training institutions across the country, we are getting far less people opting to do journalism. Many of them are going into PR and other areas. Those areas are safe. Nobody will come and slap you. Okay. So it is a concern. The minimum we will expect from everybody, civil society, is when a journalist comes under attack, there should be round condemnation, so that we will also appreciate the fact that, well, the very people we are working for appreciate the work we are doing, and they will always come to our aid. So we need support. It is a reason there's a media coalition, okay, that have made an input in the workings of the Constitution Review Commission. And we have proposed that the state should set up a fund to support investigative journalism and people who are going into such beats, so that they will be able to have the necessary equipment. Sometimes security. Okay, and I was talking about 2012 when I was in the field. I had to arrange with the Ashanti Region Security Task Force, and I was accompanied by soldiers wielding guns. And in one of the mining fields, they had to fire warning shots because the illegal miners are also armed. So they had to fire warning shots to ward them off. And so if you don't have security, you are risking your life. And if you talk to Erastus, and I would suggest the university should invite him here, he will tell you the kind of recce they will do to ensure that the area is safe before they go in there. So we also need security. If you're able to get that, then we will be doing more. In spite of all these shortcomings and challenges I've outlined, I'm still making the point that the media have stayed the course far more and better than any other institution.
Okay, Mr. Yeboah, that's interesting to know, but we are looking at solutions and then the way forward. You sit on the high table of the Ghana Journalists Association, if not as the chief operating officer, as the general secretary. Well, and you are the most powerful media organization in Ghana with the collective bargaining agreement. You go to the government and all that. What practical steps have the organization taken to avert some of these challenges you enumerated?
So that is why I said we have made a proposal, and we had interaction with the CRC. We are believing that they will take the, pro- the proposal we have made, because we did a presentation to them, and we want to believe we have convinced them enough. When we get that fund, okay, it will help us a lot, because in the circumstances, there's very little we can do unless you have a media organization such as Multimedia Group, and with Erastus Asaridonko, who has dedicated himself to do this job. It gets to a point, you cannot be throwing your money, every investment into it. So when we get that funding, and especially security, we will be able to do more. The recent attacks we experienced was in the Western region, Asakrangwa. 3 guys, one from City TV FM. They were Kwesi Enim. They were attacked when they are gone into the field. And sometimes the sad thing is that after they are attacked, the police will want to connive with the perpetrators of the attack and make the case a foolish case. And there are very few ones. So, for example, the Erastus Asaridonko case is still not concluded yet. Sometimes, even where you are having the police to prosecute, the punishment meted out are peanuts. So they ask you to come and pay 2,400. Okay, it will not deter the people from doing such attacks. And even where we know the people behind the illegal mining operations, as we have all indicated, sometimes it is not the young guys in the field, but they are kingpins behind. Even where we know them, we are not able to arrest them and bring them before the law. And until we decide to be frontal with these issues, it will be difficult to address them. So if I'm sitting in the newsroom, I'm a news editor. Of course, I will not throw out my reporter to go to the field at the risk of his or her life. I will not do that. So where we don't have that support, it will surely hamper how we want to do the work.
Okay, thank you. It's all been support. Aula, I think most of the work you do, if I say, is charity. How much support do you have, and how much media support? Because you need the media to highlight your advocacy. And to add up, what's been the general experience being an advocacy within this sector?
Well, I mean, just to add to what he said, I want to also say that the journalist, Ohimeng Taria, was also badly beaten up, very badly beaten up, only because he was highlighting. In fact, I had spoken to him just before that. He had done an interview. And I wrote something about it, and I sent it to Joe. I don't think it went to the other, but I did write about it. So as civil society, we also need the media, because if they don't highlight matters, we won't find out about it. And I have to say that the media on the whole has been doing a very good job, and they are the ones who have put their lives on the line. I mean, I was in the UK, and I remember coming to Ghana on a visit, and that was the first time I heard about Atiwa. And I think that was Darrell Bosso of Arocha talking about what was happening at Atiwa. It was later on that we joined the campaign, and if he hadn't got the media attention, how would information have gone? But what I would say about the civil society organizations is that we are at the coal face. We are doing what we can. We are not being funded, at least eco-conscious citizens. We are not a funded organization. So what we are doing is out of passion. We believe that Ghana is facing an existential threat. And we believe that the Ghanaians are not angry enough. I don't think the media has done its best. It's highlighting information, but I don't think that Ghanaians have actually got to the point that they realize that their lives are under threat. Sometimes we think, oh, it's in the illegal mining belt. But as has been said today so many times, even the water you are drinking, even when it's fruit juice, do you know where anything you are consuming is coming from? And if, especially the young people, can't be bothered to find out what is going on, because it's your source of information, you can put information out. But if I'm not going to listen to it or read the papers, then it will pass me by. And that is what is worrying. So maybe what I want to do is encourage people that we can only do what we can, but you also have to be interested enough to engage. And you can contribute in several ways. For example, nothing stops you from raising funds to support some of the journalists who are putting their lives on the line. And right now, the issues we face, I think, is mainly to do with enforcement. And I think that I want to disabuse people's minds about the fact that it's poverty. I mean, people go into armed robbery. Are we going to say that we should continue armed robbery until we can find employment for those involved in armed robbery? Those who do ritual murder, are we going to say that until we can? You know, let's disabuse our minds of those things and say that people are cocoa farmers. Some of them are into illegal mining. People have left school to go into illegal mining. When you think you can, there was a California rush in the US a long time ago. People thought that this was a way of making quick money, so they'll go into it. At the end of the day, if the duty bearers just sit there and watch what is going on and don't do anything about it, it encourages it. And I just want to say that we are on the verge of a catastrophe. Waters being poisoned, forest reserves being destroyed. Most of your waters take their sources from forest reserves. Rise in kidney disease, neurological disease, deformed babies, maternal deaths, and we're just sitting there. And we also know that the food we are eating is coming from those areas. So we are being poisoned. And if that is not enough, we face a national security problem. You know, in Latin America, parts of it which are controlled by the drug cartels, do you think it started overnight? It started gradually and nobody paid attention. Now those areas are no-go areas. Only the drug lords can go there. The same thing is happening in Ghana. We are having certain areas which, as you said, some of the illegal miners are highly armed. You have to be, well protected before you can go there. How many of you have heard of what recently happened to Hannah Bissau when she was trying to arrest some illegal miners? And even some of the complicity were from the police. So if we just don't bother to be well informed and we just close our eyes, when we wake up, the house would have burnt. And I'm likening what is happening to a house burning. When the house is burning, the first thing you do, you might be hungry and your house is burning. You might have a headache and your house is burning. But the first thing you do when you find out your house is burning, let me ask you, what do you do when you find out your house is burning? Excuse me, what do you do when you find out your house is burning? Are you going to now worry about, should I have used different furniture? Have I paid the school fees? The first thing you do is try and leave the burning building. And this is the situation we are facing right now. Ghana is burning. Ghana is burning. So we have to sit up. We have to sit up and be engaged in what is going on and support those who are at the coal face. Thank you.
Thank you, Aula. I'll be coming back to you for your perspective on LI 2462. But I'll deal with Dr. Sorry, I have a colleague, Dr. Lee. So pardon me, Engineer Lee. Yes, EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. You are supposed to protect the environment that we live in. And if you look at the Ghana's Mineral and Mining Act, all the mineral policies in Ghana, EPA has an integral role to play in anybody even venturing to any mining site to mine. What happened or what has happened?
Yeah, the policies are there, but you see, you are talking about illegal mining, and like my sister mentioned, this is an existential threat that we are facing. It's a matter of security. In the past, we started talking about illegal mining since 2012, and I remember we made a paper to the Economic Development Committee of the Council of States when the late Professor Mills was president. When John Mahama took over as president, we made another paper on the issues of illegal mining and what should be done. So, and every president we've done that. This is an illegal activity that the EPA will not be in a position to. We can only identify, do education and all that. But illegal activities would definitely be, we need the security agencies to help us fight that. I'll just give you examples. We go on the monitoring and we find illegal miners. We arrest them. We send them to the police station. The police says, give us money to feed them.
As a government agency.
We've identified that illegal miners are here doing cyanidation, which they are not supposed to do, close to a river body. We get the police, let's go and arrest them. You go, you arrest, then the police says, oh, we don't have a problem. It is EPA. You know, and we cannot be, our lives cannot be, it's on a threat. I remember when I was in Takwa then, my chief executive told me, he said, Mike, where you are, you don't have a gun. If you continue following these illegal miners, they'll come after you because you are being given out by the security agencies. And so sometimes we are very careful. And like she said, now we go to most of these illegal mining areas, and there are people wearing pump action guns who are protecting them to work. How will I get there? And that is not the end of it. Even sometimes you have state security protecting them to work. Because illegal mining is not just with the small scale ones. Even sometimes somebody gets a prospecting license to do prospecting. You come for the EPA permit to do prospecting. And prospecting means you either do, depending on the type of business. If it is reconnaissance, you just walk on the land, you don't just take soil samples and you don't dig. And then you go and test, looking at the vegetation. If it is prospecting, you do some trenches, you do some drilling. But some people take their license and they go and they mine. And that is what you've seen happening with Apapama Forest Reserve. And when we got that, we made a report and we sent it to our sector minister. And that's what the report was submitted to the presidency. And action was not taken. And so sometimes when some of these things happen, then it discourages us because you risk your life, you do certain things, and yet no action is taken because the political will is not there.
So everybody is being cautious to live for the family, but the degradation.
Beaten and left, and he could have died.
Yeah.
If you saw what he looked like after he'd been beaten, and they're the city, I mean, they're other gender, they're actually putting their lives on the line every day. Every day you read a post from Erastus. And if I give you the information and you're not prepared to do anything about it, and that is why we were saying pause small scale mining. Because you see, when you give out thousands of licenses like confetti, and then you're not in a position to monitor, and they can do what they like, what is the advantage? And I think we all have to look at the cost of cleaning up. You know, it's something to say, oh, we got the minerals, why don't we mine them? But what is the cost of mining them? Right now, the land that has been degraded, you don't just start planting on it the next day because it's poisoned. You would correct me, you need to make sure that the poisons are gone first. And then, you know, the people who have become ill, what are you going to do about it? So to think that mining is the only salvation for Ghana is really, really unfortunate. And I think that those who are putting their lives on the line, you get very discouraged when the duty bearers, even the police, don't seem to be very concerned. And that's why recently they said they were going to remove the police commanders in the illegal mining belt and replace them with new ones. I'm not sure that has been completely effective because we still have some of the old ones there who, from the information reaching us from our activists on the ground, are sometimes protecting the illegal miners.
Okay. I'll just give you something.
Mike,
From the forest perspective, from the forest's perspective, the forest guards are not armed.
Oh, okay.
And recently, I don't know whether you heard about a forest guard that they had to attack him. They used a machete and cut it. They attacked him in the forest.
Been killed.
You know, so people's lives are at risk. And so we must, as a country, look at the situation and say, look, this is what we must fight this thing. It's a canker that we must fight, and we'll fight. And we can win the war if we all put our hands on deck. But like I said, if you have security agencies protecting some of these people working. I remember there were two areas, Upper Wassa Forest Reserve, Upper Pama Forest Reserve. We wanted to go there, and there were military who were protecting them from, and they would not allow you to go in there. So what do I do? Until they finished mining, before we're able to go and do the estimates to know that they had spoiled, they had devastated about 400 hectares of land within the Upper Wassa Forest Reserve, Upper Pama Forest Reserve, where Erasmus was beaten. I mean, and sometimes we collaborate with Erasmus to do some of these investigations when we have hints that these are things that will happen. And so those are the things that we can do for now, until as a nation, we all stand up and say, look, enough is enough. Let's.
Okay, Mr. Eba, you had wanted to ask something.
Yes, I wanted to throw more light on the case of Ohime. Ohime Teria was nearly killed. And what is even more serious about his case was that he had gone to the mining sites with police officers. So he was in the police team. Okay, and after the operation, the miners had crossed them and blocked the road. So the police vehicle could not move out. And they were trying to call for reinforcement. And the miners wanted to cut off his leg. Okay, so he really sustained some serious injuries. This is what we are discussing here. And if we have a situation like this, it will be difficult for media people to go in there. In one of the cases involving Erastus, he told us that even when he had gone to report to the police and the police had accompanied them to the site to identify the people, the police told them that where they were pointing to, they couldn't go there. And I felt so sad that if we live in a country and our security forces cannot deal with a situation like this, then even Togo can overrun us. Then we are all not safe. Okay, but that is the reality on the ground. And that is why I say, even though the media, we are doing our best, some of these things can really hamper us. And for me, it is just a case of the state not interested in acting. Otherwise, I don't see how illegal miners with their inferior weapon power should override our state security apparatus.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Aula, I still tied to this. I asked you about the LI 2462. Ghana has all the laws, the policies on mining. There's a school of thought we don't even need any new laws if we're enforcing those that existed. What's your perspective on this new LI mining in forest? Should it be amended? Should it be repealed?
Well, you know my position.
Will it solve the issue?
My position on that is clear. It's the position of CSOs. It is not fit for purpose. I know my brother doesn't agree with me, but that notwithstanding, that's my position. It should be repealed. And let me say this very clearly for those who don't know. The problem with illegal mining is not the absence of laws. It's because it's a question of lack of enforcement. And in fact, it's not just mining. It can be noise pollution. Somebody is just making so much noise. There are laws and regulations. They just flout them, and the duty bearers do nothing. I've reported so many cases to do with noise pollution, not just from me, from members. What happens? Open burning. I mean, so many things. Look at people building on Ramsar sites. I got a call late 2 nights ago to tell me that the Peshi Lagoon in La, a wetland, was being filled so that they can go and build on it. Recently, there was some demolition on some parts. There's lack of compliance, and then the duty bearers don't do what they should do. Sometimes they reluctantly go, maybe demolish when stop work, and then they go to sleep and nothing else happens. So our problem is a lack of enforcement. Now, LI 2462 is the legislation that allows mining in forest reserves. Now, I used to harp on was the fact that it even allowed mining in globally significant biodiversity areas if the president said it was in the national interest. Now, is that bit that has been removed? So that with the amendment, is that bit that has been removed? But the law is still there. You can still mine in forest reserves. And what organizations like Arocha, who have been there for a long time, who know what they are talking about, In fact, I can give you some summaries on the law. I don't want to spend too much time on that now. But under the old guidelines, you could not mine on more than 2% of the forest reserve. Right now, with LI 2462, you virtually have unfettered access to our forest reserves. So there are so many other things. And I think recently, Sami Jemfi said that there had been a lot of discussions, and that these were his words. I have got the video. As soon as Parliament resumed, LI 2462 would be revoked. Parliament has resumed, and that has not yet happened. Now, I have to say that whilst in opposition, the president had said that when he came to power, he would revoke LI 2462. When he came, it was amended. And in fact, the media sometimes should do their homework well. Because I'd been advocating, I got calls from media houses, oh, you must be happy, you must be happy. LI 2462 has been revoked. First of all, it hadn't been revoked. In any case, what was before Parliament was not a revocation, it was an amendment. So if even journalists were being deceived, then you can understand why the fight against illegal mining isn't going anywhere. Of course, LI 2462 is not going to stop illegal mining, but at least it's going to on paper, protect our forest reserve. Go back to what you had before LI 2462. And if you feel there's something that needs to be done, it can be done with proper consultation. LI 2462, as far as we're concerned, was clandestinely passed. The CSO did not know anything about it until Parliament had, and I don't know if I should say it here, but my information is that the person who chaired the committee that brought about what we call a bad piece of legislation was the current Attorney General. So maybe that's why there's some difficulty in repealing it. But what I would like everybody to know, that our problem is not really the absence of law. So there was no need, in my opinion, for LI 2462. The current laws you have, you need to enforce them. And then when you come to licenses for illegal mining, the fact that I have a driving license doesn't mean that I'm driving, obeying the highway code. The same way you can issue licenses to people, but if you don't monitor to find out that they are doing what they should do, then like Professor Frimpong Boateng said, they are engaged in illegal mining, though they might be brandishing a piece of paper. It's a question of enforcement, enforcement, enforcement. And I think that if you don't have the resources to enforce, it's criminal to be issuing licenses like confetti when you know you cannot monitor.
Okay, thank you. Interesting perspectives. I'll get Mr. Engineer Lee's reaction, and then we'll come to the audience. Okay, so that it becomes more engaging. Engineer.
Because you mentioned LI 24.
Yes, your perspective. Or you want to?
I mean, it's certain things were not supposed to be put in there, but it's found its way in, and so. But that was actually for us to use it to help put more curb mining in its environmental management in mining in forest reserves. Like you said, we had an LI, a guideline which was passed in 2001, when, as a country, we had decided to allow people to prospect for minerals in our forest reserves. But I mean, you don't know what happened, but our colonial masters put all our forest reserves on minerals. And so in 2016, 2017, the then conservator of forests allowed them to enter into the forest and do prospect. And now, out of the 30 companies, 17 had found resources within the forest reserves, and they had sunk in huge sums of money. And so in 2001, when President Kufuor took over as president, we were faced as a country to pay judgment there, because one of the companies had spent close to $20 million doing exploration in the forest, and have found the reserve. They had done their feasibility study, and then at least 5 out of the 17, 5 of them had got into the feasibility study. And so they had delineated where the ore body is and all that. And so the then President Kufuor then said, okay, what do we do as a country? And so a 5-member ministerial committee was formed to look at the issue. And the recommendation was that we have to mine. But as a country, we didn't have guidelines. So we had to travel to South Africa, travel to Australia, to Brazil, where mining is done in the forest. And so we came up with the guidelines, which she's referring to. After having operated the guidelines for 20 years, we reviewed it. And then the issue was that there were certain things that were in that guideline that somebody one day can come and say, look, it's a guideline, I'm not bound by it. And so the advice by the Attorney General was that can we turn them into an ally? And so we did. But like she said, certain things came in. I mean, I was not a lawyer, and I give for certain things. But I mean, the drafters are from the AG department, so they would put in all that. Good giving our technical input. And the basics was to get how mining should be done in the forest reserve, because we have already 4 companies that were, the 5 companies that were given chance to mine. Large scale, not small scale is not allowed in any forest. Any small scale mining that you find in the forest reserve is illegal. Our river bodies are no-go areas. Anybody mining on our river bodies is doing an illegality. Nobody is given a license to go and mine in the river. The only time we had people mining in the river were when we had the Continental, the State Gold Mining Corporation, Dunka Dredge. So they were doing the dredging on the Dunka River. But since they went defunct, nobody has been given license to mine on our river bodies or even close to our river bodies. So this is how come the LI 2462 came into existence. And I mean, there are the good portions of it, but like I said, the globally significant area that was put in there, and I think it was because of Atiwa, when the government was thinking of going to Atiwa to mine the bauxite and all that. But we can still look at the law and see, because there are people who are mining legitimately in the forest, like Newmont. It's no longer Newmont. It's now Zinji, Golden Ridge in the in Achim. You have Ashanti Gold in Chirano, and then the other ones, they have finished mining. If you go to Mampong, Abronya, where Golden Star mine, they have done the revegetation. If you go and you see, you will never know that mining has taken place in the forest. And the only thing the Lord said was that you can do your pit only in the forest. Every other infrastructure is outside the forest. So, like she said, when we can look at it, we are talking behind the scenes how we can get back the law so that we can, look at how mining is effectively done in the forest, because we can't just take it out and leave those people to the Ghana. Because, like I said, 2 things were mentioned: the formation of the Luzon Group, which is an intersectorial body made up of the Forest Commission, the Forest Division, the EPA, the Minerals Commission, the Water Resources Commission, the Ghana Geological Survey Authority, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, and the Ghana Chamber of Mines. So if there is no any law, how do they work together? And then the other thing was that because those who were mining the forest reserve, they were supposed to pay compensation to farmers. Now, how did farms come into the forest reserves? We had huge cocoa farms in the forest reserves, and so they were supposed to pay compensation to the forest to those cocoa farmers. And then the forester said, "Look, they are illegal farmers. So to pay them compensation means you are legitimizing their work." And so we said, okay, can the companies mining the forest reserve put an extra 0.6% royalties for the development of the communities within the forest fringe areas? And so if there is no legislation, you can't continue. One day somebody can come and say, "Look, it's not binding." And so this were put in the law, in the LI and that, so that we can be able to legitimize it.
Oh, interesting. Cocoa farms will go to make way for gold. So, being an engineer, will you say that there's minimum environmental risk, or there's no environmental risk at all mining in these forest reserves?
Oh, if the legalized ones, for instance, we put all our measures in place, and they are mining, and there is minimal risk in terms of like, for instance, I mentioned Newmont have sold it to a Chinese company now, and then Chirano, which is mining the Tano and Tano Straw Extension Forest Reserve, Anglo Gold mining the Sepuma Shelter Forest Reserve in Kubi. I mentioned that Golden Star was mined in the Mampong Abronya Forest Reserve. The only one that never came up was the Subri Forest Reserve by Satellite Gold Force. They didn't go in. And that is where Jerusalem, I don't know if you heard about Jerusalem, a mining community in the middle of the forest. Illegal mining community in the middle of the forest. They went and demolished them, and they found their way back.
Aula, your thoughts, your reaction, and then if the ashes are here, we can get a perspective of the audience, and then we'll run.
No, I mean, I'll say very quickly. I think we all know that whatever you want to say, when you do mining, you will have some distraction. It's just a question of when you go according to guidelines, you are minimizing the distraction. The reason why before you didn't mine in forest reserves was that there are some bits, we're not the only humans are not the only people who inhabit the earth. You also have other species and you have an ecosystem, things depending on other things. And therefore you wanted them to have their habitat also intact. And I would say that another thing that's very wrong with the LI is that, when you talking about replacing, you can't replace, let's say, forest trees with, let's say, for example, a plantation of coconuts. It's not the same thing. So what I would say is that repeal it and then take your time to do some proper consultation. I think we should get some audience participation. To get some proper consultation.
Most of the
But
people who
let's
do
remove
forest, mine the forest, they do what we call offsetting. So, for instance, Newmont, even though they took like 15 hectares of land within the forest to do their mining, they did about 300 hectares of land planting.
Planting what in particular?
No, forest.
Well, I have to check the information because
Oh yes.
what I was reliably informed differently.
No,
But what I'm
Newmont
saying
had
that I don't really
offset,
want to have a ping pong here.
Yes.
So let's yeah.
Okay, contributions from the audience.
Wow, quiet.
So your hand can go up and then the microphone will be handed over to you.
Okay.
From the contributions so far, it looks quite obvious that many of the inhibitions to our fight against Galamsey are due to political influence. So how can we come by with solutions that are independent of political influence? Because if we are to continue the same route, we are just going to have the same results. So how can we look at solving Galamsey without having big figures in politics tampering with whatever we want to do?
Well, I think it's very easy. I mean, if you look at the run up to the elections, when so many groups came together, civil society organizations, Catholic Bishops' Conference, organized labor. I mean, so many people came together. The Galamsey, Media Galamsey, Coalition Against Galamsey, so many people came together. And the list of demands were made. And of course, you see, all politicians, what is it they are interested in? Votes. That's all they are interested in. Some of them are interested in actually improving the livelihood of the people. But some just want to be in power for the sake of being in power. So if you notice, because of that, they sat up. And they said they were going to give in to the demands, starting with, I believe, LI 2462. And to be fair, what they had tabled was a revocation, not an amendment. But then organized labor decided to call off the strike without waiting, because we had also asked for a targeted state of emergency, free from political interference, because people on the ground were seeing what is going on, that the window of opportunity is quickly closing. If you don't act now, there'll be many areas that will become no-go areas. Every day you wait, it's every day that the environmental terrorists, as I call them, are getting better armed. We are told these days that there are 1,000 excavators waiting at the ports, 200 are coming in every day. That is what we are being told. So we said, declare a state of emergency, pause small-scale mining, because you're unable to monitor, dishing out the licenses, and yet the monitoring is not taking place. We had asked for a repeal of LI 2462, and I believe special courts to also deal with the number of arrests and things. And all this was derailed when organized labor decided to suspend the strike. So right now, there's calls for engagement, but you won't have any engagement if you're not even aware of what is going on. So the thing to do is, for once the people understand what is going on and are prepared to take a stand, believe me, government will sit up. But they will not sit up when people don't seem to know what is going on. And in fact, a member of the international community was asking me that he doesn't understand why Ghanaians are not angry enough. You know the water you are drinking. I mean, this water, have you, those who liked, has anybody tested it to tell us exactly what is or not in the water? We don't know. I know for a fact. No, I mean, I'm not trying to scare people, but I know as a fact, you can correct me, that Belacqua does the reverse osmosis. I know as a fact that Awake is supposed to do it. I don't know if Pella does it.
I don't know much about this.
Yeah, so I don't know. So I'm not trying to promote any because I'm not getting anything from that. But I'm just saying that we all see that it's clear, and then we believe that because it's clear, it's safe. When it's brown, we stay away. And I'm saying that, get away from that. The fact that it's clear doesn't mean it's safe. It doesn't mean so. Ghana Water has told us they do not remove the toxins from the water. So we are facing an existential threat. And when Ghanaians begin to understand the gravity of the situation and demand that the government acts, the government will act. But right now, we're not interested. Look at how, for example, when it came to the pensions, people were up in arms. But it took a long time for Ghanaians to threaten to, go on strike if certain demands were not met.
Mike, if I may add, the 1992 Constitution, Article 36(9), says the state shall take appropriate measures needed to protect and safeguard the national environment for posterity, and shall seek cooperation with other states and bodies for the protection of the wider environment for mankind. Then Article 3 mandates you and I, as citizens, to defend the Constitution. So if the Constitution is mandating the state to take measures to protect and safeguard the national environment, and we have a duty to defend the Constitution, then you and I must compel the state to do what it is mandated to do in the Constitution. So don't see it as somebody's job, as I keep saying. It is our collective job. And so we should all be thinking, what can I do to support this cause? And in our very little way, we should try and be angry, as I last said. I think we are not angry enough. If we are angry, we will be even taking steps to read around the issue, learn about the issue, so that we can also do awareness creation. If you don't know the issue, you don't understand the issue, you can't create awareness. The Latin maxim says, "Nemo dat quod non habet." You cannot give what you don't have. Okay, and if you are a Christian, go to Acts chapter 3, verse 6. When Peter came to the beautiful gate and the cripple was expecting him to give him some money. And Peter said, "Silver and gold have I none. Such as I have, give I thee." So you can only give what you have. And if we want to create awareness, it means we must read around the issues to understand the issues. Then we can engage and convince. It is only a mindset. And if you are able to change that mindset, that there's alternative to what we are doing to destroy the environment and our very existence, I believe we will be winning the war. Thank you.
At the EPA, we say that we co-manage the environment because, how many are we? So we co-manage the environment. So it is you and us. So it goes to buttress what my brother said about the Constitution and the safeguarding and the role of the citizenry.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the discussion. I think we've talked a bit about how much little we know about what's happening, and I just had I think we were talking about how much little we know about the problem. So I was just asking myself, how much truly do we know about Galamsey? Because when I'm always listening to these discussions, it's always very generic in terms of, oh, water bodies have been destroyed, the land has been destroyed, but truly how much is it destroying the natural vegetation? Can we put numbers to that? If we can, where can we access that information? Because the more we know about it, the better. And if we're able to put numbers to it, then it becomes a bit undeniable. And then we also know exactly where to tackle the situations when you look at it like that. And also, secondly, I realize that very little is said about community-based solutions. How exactly can we engage these rural communities that live in these Galamsey areas? Because at the end of the day, if you deploy people to go there, they don't stay there, they're going to leave. So it's these communities that we have to work with to be able to keep the solutions long-term, so we're not just creating short-term solutions to long-term problems. So I just kept thinking, like, how do we navigate and work with these local communities? What kind of interventions and support can we give them to build their capacities to be able to rely for themselves, and to be also to be able to also benefit from biodiversity? And maybe when we're able to help them see that different picture of it, then it's a bit easier to include them in the fight against Galamsey. So I think those were like the two questions that I had. But also quickly, I wanted to say, on when it comes to the threats on journalism, I was just thinking that isn't there a way technology can be involved to minimize threats? I mean, is there a way we could properly also regulate the Galamsey alliances? And because if we know tractors will be going to these areas, or this is the area where someone got alliances for, can we include, I don't know, IoT? Can we do tracking in a way that we're able to tell if these people are not mining in the areas that they are? Can we use drones, for instance, to be able to do these mappings, so that maybe that can reduce threats and security issues? So I don't know, those are a lot of questions, but I hope it helps.
No, I just wanted to answer one aspect of the problem. Let's not think that the people in those areas are happy about what is going on. At Ronsu, at Semkrom, so many of the areas, they have approached us, because in every community, you have the good, the bad, and the ugly. You have some people who are short-sighted and are only thinking of a quick gain. You have the more sensible people who are looking long-term. You look at Atronsu, for instance, they're a farming community. They said, we want to continue cocoa farming. We do not want community mining. We do not want it. It was being thrust down their throats. So as we speak, there's a court case going on. They came to us, and there's a case in court. They said, we don't want it. But obviously, there'll be some elements who want it because they are thinking of short-term solutions. And unfortunately for them, their chief was not particularly a visionary. Now, we have an area, for example, in Jema, in the northwest region, where the chief has been offered, he's ill, he's been offered so much money to allow, he said, take your money. If my ancestors hadn't preserved the forest, beautiful rainforest, it wouldn't be there. I don't want it. So although he's ill, he said, keep your money. And he's ill, and we managed to get some monies for him. But he said, keep your money. So the people in Jemma, because the chief is a sensible person, and they have somebody called Father Blay, who is a community activist, they've managed to keep their environment pristine. So you come and see devastation here. Jemma is pristine, and next to it. Recently, they tried, and they've managed to stop it. So they said that when you have the chief, the political authority, whether the DC, MC, and the police, who say no illegal mining, trust me, it will not take place. But when either the chief is complicit, the political authority is complicit, or the police is complicit, it happens. So to answer your question, it's not as if they don't know the devastation being caused. They know it and they don't want it. But there are got elements who are short-sighted. And there have been instances where, for example, in Asemkrom, they went to an effected citizens' arrest on illegal miners. You know what happened? In the end, the police turned around and actually arrested the persons who had effected the citizens' arrest. And we spent a lot of money getting them bail, and, and rather allow the illegal miners to go scot-free. I've had instances where you've been continually communicating with the police because they are more interested in arresting activists than sometimes arresting those who are destroying our environment. And there are lots of initiatives taking place so that if you're talking about income, there are other ways of getting an income, because there was life before this kind of illegal mining, and there'll be life after. It's a question of not being so short-sighted and just thinking of today, forgetting that the cost of reclaiming the land and the cost to our health is what we call penny wise and pound foolish.
Okay. The data. Some work was done in 2017 for the Western region. I mean, where a lot of the illegal mining is taking place. And there is a report by the International Growth Center on that. And out of the then Western region, I mean, now that it has been separated into Western North and then Western. The Western region, that time, I think, in 21, 11 districts were fully engaged in illegal mining. And I mean, when you go into that report, you see the land mass in terms of district by district, the degradation that was measured. And then therefore they estimated the cost of reclaiming those degraded areas within the Western region alone, the 11 districts that were affected. And it was almost $1 billion in 2017. It was almost $1 billion Ghana cedis. You know, so that's there. If you come to the forestry area, out of the 288 forest reserves that we have, the Forest Commission tells us that 41% of them are under threat of illegal mining. And out of the 41, 9 were in the red zone. Recently, we had this in, and then the president, they have been able to retrieve, I think, out of the 9 in the red zone, they've been able to retrieve 8. So 1 is still left. Because, and that tells you that the people are really armed in the forest. The forest reserve, the forest guards can't go there until the military had to be used. And so they've been able to get 8 out, 8 back, and it's left with 1. You know, and then they are now moved to the red, to yellow, and some were green, and you know, so the data is there. So I can share that report with you, and then you can look further. And some other works have been done in terms of the degradation, and we know it is going to cost us as a nation to do the rehabilitation of the degraded areas, because you now have to get excavators to go and create the place, fill in the pits, get topsoil and level, and before you do some nitrogen fixing trees, plants to get the soil condition, before you now start doing whatever you want, whether you want to be agriculture or forestry again.
You have to remove the poison, don't you?
Yeah, you know, so those are some of the things. So, and it's very, very huge, because from the large scale mines that we do reclamation, and they post the bond, you can just see somebody, the degradation that he has, and it's into millions of dollars, and they post the bond, a part of it in a cash component, and then the portion, 20% of it in a cash component, and then 80% as a bank guarantee or an insurance, in such a way that, and then we insist that they do concurrent rehabilitation, because it is difficult to wait until the life of your mine and then you start doing reclamation. So as you work, you do the rehabilitation at your own cost. Once this bond is there, then at the end of the amount of life, when you do and you meet the criteria, then the government will release that money to you. And that is done with a large scale. We are now cascading it and started with the small scale miners. And because that is one of the things that will separate them from the illegalities. If they post the bond, and therefore they'll do the reclamation and all that. And then the other thing is that we've applied a system of monitoring within the large scale, which we call the ACOBEN, which is environmental performance and public disclosure. So we monitor, we disclose the results. If you get red, it means you're not performing well. And the thing is so rigid that the first criteria is the legal regime. If you flout in one of the legal regimes, no matter what you do, you will get red. And the legal regime has got to do with your permits, your annual returns, your monitoring returns, your bond posting and all that. So if you fail in any of those ones, already automatically you will get a red. Then the other one is hazardous chemical spillage, either hydrocarbons or even chemicals. If you have a spillage, it goes against you. So these first 2 criteria alone, once you get out of any of them, you definitely get, no matter what. So most of the companies will get gold in corporate social responsibility, in the monitoring, in all that. But once you have a problem with your permit, maybe it has expired and you have not renewed at the right time, so, and we are now, the small scale is now calling for that as well. And so we're working around to get it so that we can also do same for the small scale miners. And that would distinguish them clearly from the illegal ones as well.
Mike, let me add on to the on the data issue. It is the reason I am particularly happy about what Academic City is doing to also contribute to the building of data and literature around this issue. But what I want to add is that with what is happening, you don't even need to wait till you are gathering data. Just talk about what you see. You see the Ankobra changing color. Just talk about it, and that will also be helpful. And then also, even with data, the way we use data is very important. How do we break it down to the understanding of my illiterate mother in the house? That is also very important. When we talk about it will take 300 years to reclaim what we have destroyed. If I'm sitting here, I don't see how that will affect me, because I know in 300 years' time, I'll not be here. So even how we couch the narrative is very important. But if I get to know that even though it will take 300 years to reclaim, I am being affected now, then I will sit up. On the issue you raised about how can we use tech to address the security issues, quite recently, the Fourth Estate, and the Fourth Estate is a project run by the Media Foundation for West Africa. They were doing a story, and they were doing the story around the time Erastus had been assaulted within the same space. So they felt upon their assessment it was unsafe to go there. So they linked up with the University of Ghana to use remote sensing, okay, to take their shots. So tech can be used to avoid the security issue. But you also agree with me that tech is expensive. And if the media are to rely on technology, it will require quite substantial investment. It's the reason I will go back to the proposal we have made to the Constitution Review Commission that there should be a fund established to support some of these activities by the media. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Well, okay, I think we will take one last question and then you just round up and then we can.
Yeah, I have the mic. I was looking for who has it. Right, so I have been hearing, I was here for the first unpacking, of course, this is my workplace, so I have to be here. This idea of Ghanaians are not angry enough, and yet almost all of you have shared incidences of people being slashed, even policemen refusing to enter a forest of a certain direction. And so when you ask this youth here, not being angry enough, are you asking them to be angry to get beaten or slashed? And I have heard Engineer Kanashigbe said severally that we know the problems. Just about 3 weeks ago, coming back from Kumasi, right there on the bridges, alongside of the roads, you sit in the car, you could see them, broad daylight, the chamfines are on the rivers, they are still doing it. So what stopped the police in the community from going there and say, hey, we have asked you to pause, we have asked you to do this, or the government, or if there's some directive to be given, why is it not being given? I think we are playing ostriches with this issue. We know them. We have a presidency where the president is the commander-in-chief, regardless of training. He gives a command, at least following UN awards, we can tell that the Ghanaian, military and police even are well trained, they are very experienced. And if we give the command, they can stop every single activity on every single river body and every forest. Why are we playing games and enjoying the talk? It's quite surprising. Thank you. Take your mic.
Okay, I think time. Mr. Tanko, you want to? Okay, the last comment from Mr. Tanko, and then we'll round up. Can the mic?
Okay, since I have the mic, let me ask.
Oh,
okay. So,
okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I'll make mine very quick. I know we're running out of time. I have 2 points. The first point was to do with communication. It seems like there's a disconnect. You were surprised that the students did not know Arastus and all of those people, but I know them. I listen to them on the radio, I listen to them on TV, etc. I don't know if these students, that's the medium they use today. It's important that there's a lot of work being done. There's a lot of content. However, that content is not reaching them. I think it's important that that connect has to be done to ensure that what they're listening to. I mean, the other day, my niece saw me listening to a radio and she was laughing at me that she's never seen anyone listen to a radio. What are they listening to? Where are they going to? That's where this content needs to go to. And to me, that's what I feel is the disconnect. You talked about the data, but you have the data and you send it to him, just him, right? No, my point is the data should be out there. He doesn't have to ask for it. It should be out there. It should be more of a push than a pull of data. And that way we'll get a lot more of the communication going on. That was the number one. Number two was quickly, he just mentioned, we know them. Everybody has mentioned, we know them. They are big people. But who are they? Who exactly is doing this? Are there any names of people?
Yes, there are names.
You know,
Of course there are names.
where are they? We don't see them. You know, we talk about a lot of technologies, policies need to be done, and we ahead that all of these things are there, right? We have good technologies, we have the policies, everything is, the laws are there. However, we're still doing it. To me, I think we're doing all of this to try and stop it. However, we also need to start doing things to try and not make it reinvent itself. And I think the area to touch would come along areas to do with honor system, integrity, character, etc. Some things that were just discussed during our graduation 2 days ago by Mr. Sam Jonah. With those things, with those characters, I think people will then think of us, people, the country, and not necessarily money and all of those other items that are now the items that are pushing them to get into these businesses. To me, that's the second point, that I think we need to start thinking as a whole, as a country, on how we get this honor system going on. So those are the 2 points, the communication and then this honor system.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tanku. I think time is far spent. So during the networking session, they will still be with us, and then we continue the engagement. Okay, as to who the people are,
We know them.
we will get to know them, or we are getting to know them as and when power changes hands. So over time, we'll get to know them. And then those they want us to know, will know. Those they want to hide, they will hide. But when power changes again, they will also be unveiled, or should I say unpacked. Thanks so much for joining this session. I can't be more than grateful to Engineer Michael Ali, Director of Mining for Environmental Protection Agency, Authority of Ghana, yes, Authority in Ghana. Awula Sewa, eco-conscious, more than grateful. And then Mr. I don't know why you dropped your first name. Growing up, I knew him to be Edmond when he was with GBC. I think now Kofi Yeboah, maybe African Consciousness. The General Secretary of the Ghana Journalists Association and the media teacher as well.
Before we leave here, can we just have the understanding that, as the gentleman said, we've asked for a targeted state of emergency. We have professionals. I've talked to people. They can stop this illegal mining in a short time. If the political will is there, you have a state of emergency. There's no political interference. We can stop it. So we're not stopping it because, as Ken Ashigwe has been saying, we don't want to. And if you're talking about the players, we all know who the players are. In fact, somebody made the example that before, one government was the national, the major shareholder. Now they're the minority shareholder. The other side now is the major. We know who the players are. That's why the political will is absent. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you
Thanks
so
much
much
for the audience. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Michael, for moderating this session for us. I would humbly ask that our panel members do not move immediately. Sorry, we have a little token of appreciation for you. So I'll call on Dr. Hefsi, the HOD of Biomedical Engineering, to help us do the presentation. And we will be starting, ladies first, right? So we'll be starting with Awula Sewa. Shall we please appreciate as we share our little token of appreciation with them? Dr. Epsi, please, we want a picture, so let's face the camera. If we can move forward a little bit. Thank you. Thank you so much. And then if we can also have Mr. Kofi Yeboah, who I'm now finding out that on his birth certificate, there is an Edward there somewhere. Thank you so much, sir. And finally, we call on Engineer Michael Ali. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for gracing our campus with your presence. Thank you. So please, we may now move over. A group picture. So, yes, they want to take a group picture with just the four of them. Okay. Yeah, Dr. Epsi, please join them. Dr. Sana, please join them. Dr. Sana, please join in. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, so the photographer is here now. Okay. Thank you so much. So quickly moving on to our keynote speaker. She is the Vice Chair of IPCCS Working Group 1 for the 7th Assessment Cycle. She was a lead author on the 7th Assessment Report. She is a senior lecturer at the Department of Physics at University of Ghana, Legon. She is a fellow of African Institute of Mathematical Sciences, Next Asian Initiative Women in Climate Change Science. She was a senior research scientist and manager at the Ghana Space Science and Technology Institute of the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission. She holds a PhD in climatology from the University of Cape Town, South Africa. Her research focuses on climate modeling and climate impact assessment on society, health, energy, and gender. She has worked on both international and national projects and consultancies, including the Climate of Health project in Ghana and the ongoing Global Codex experiment. She has co-authored a good number of journal article publications and academic books to her credit. Her article published in Environmental Research Letters in May 2018 on the potential impact of 1.5 degrees Celsius and 2 degrees Celsius global warming on consecutive dry CDD and wet CWD over West Africa revealed the enhancement warning results in the reduction in main rainfall across the region. CDD will increase over the Guinea coast in tandem with a project decrease in CWD at both 1.5 degrees Celsius and 2 degrees Celsius global warming. Courses she teaches includes general physics, cloud physics, atmospheric physics, climate dynamics of Africa, and regional climate modeling. She supervises student research in Ghana and abroad at master's and PhD levels. Ladies and gentlemen, representing Professor Nana Ama Kluche is Dr. Patrick Asian. With a round of applause, shall we please welcome upstage her representative.
Thank you, Madam MC. The panelists. I will specifically address my boss, Director of Mining, EPA. I actually came to your office this morning to ask permission to do this work. Fortunately for me, you were already here waiting for me. So I'm going to read the speech of CEO in your presence. Fellow students, it is an honor and a solemn responsibility to speak for the CEO of Environmental Protection Agency on an issue that weighs heavily on the conscience of our nation, that is illegal mining. The theme for today's address is Unpacking Illegal Mining, Uncover Treasures Through Responsible Mining. And indeed, it is time we take a bold step, honest and strategy to look at what lies beneath the surface of this complex challenge of ours. When we speak of illegal mining, we are not just referring to men carrying pickers and digging the grounds. We are talking about an unregulated industry that is bleeding our country of its natural capital, environmental health, and human dignity. Our rivers, Pra, Densu, Brem, Ofin, among others, which once flow freely and nourish our communities, are now stained with mercury, cyanide, and mud. Aquatic lives are disappearing. Children in once thriving cocoa villages are now suffering from waterborne diseases. Some cannot even drink from the rivers they grew up with. In 2024 alone, we recorded mercury levels exceeding international safety threshold in several water bodies in Ghana. That is not just an environmental problem. That is public health crisis. Let us not pretend that Galamsey is simple acts of reverence. It is rooted in youth unemployment, weak enforcement and corruption, foreign exploitation, lack of inclusive governance in resource management. Our young men and women are digging for survival, but survival that leads to ecological suicide is not a future. It is a ticking time bomb. Now let us reframe the narrative. Mining archery is not an enemy. In fact, when done responsibly, mining can be a tool for national transformation. I'm saying this and I'll say it again. When done responsibly, it can be a tool for national transformation. I'm working at the mining department, and this is the fact. Respecting environmental standards is very important in this mining area we are talking about. Investing in community development, ensuring transparency and traceability, reclaiming mine lands for agriculture and biodiversity. And all these things are done especially when we venture into medium and then large scale mining. So all this illegal mining, or galamsey as we call it, we are talking about is mostly associated with the small scale mining that do not have the requisite permit, or doing it without, following any other regulations. This is how we uncover true treasures, not just gold in the soil, but green jobs, healthy water bodies, and sustained livelihood. At the Environmental Protection Authority, we are advancing some pillars. My boss mentioned a few. Surveillance and enforcement is one of the key pillars that we are advancing to address this problem. Community engagement, licensing and regulations, and restoration and innovations. As I'm talking now, we have, I think, 2 restoration projects that are going on in Ghana. We call it Ghana Land-Scale Restoration for Small-Scale Mining Project, in which we have one in the northern part of Ghana and then the other in the southern part of Ghana. Apart from this, all the large-scale and the medium-scale mining, the reclamation is part of the report they submit. So you can't do large-scale and medium-scale mining without doing reclamation. And reclamation, a lot of things, go into it. Madam mentioned a few about how if we destroyed all the ecosystem, like how are we going to get it back? My boss also, reacted to it. Before you start medium scale or large scale, you do what we call environmental impact assessment. And we check all these baselines to know what is already existing. It means when you do the reclamation, you have to also come back to see that all, including insects and then other things that were existing before mining, we need to come back and then check after you've done the reclamation or restore the place, that all these baselines that were existing before mining are existing. If not, we have to talk to you about it. Let me be clear here. This is not only government problem. This is not just a problem for EPA. This is a national crisis. And it demands a national response. So when you see people on the streets demonstrating against illegal mining, it's not only their responsibility, but it's our responsibility as well. If I'm saying that, then I'll say thank you to Academic City University for organizing this program. And I hope it's not going to end here. And thank you for the panelists for also coming to share their views. I know the fight will continue unabated until we get there. I would like to call on the media to expose the networks that benefit from Galamsey or illegal mining. It's not easy, it's difficult, but it behoves on our hands. So we have to fight it to the end. Faith leaders to speak truth in pulpits and mosque about what we are seeing. We are all part of the fight. Youth to demand accountability and to resist recruitment into illegal mining. And most importantly, traditional leaders, traditional rulers to protect the lands entrusted in them and not sell them. We had a few when Awula spoke and when my boss also spoke, including also the Media Commission Secretary, right? He also, said it. There are some communities, the chiefs or the landowners who stood on their legs to say that we are not accepting this illegality on our lands because the lands belongs to them. It is recently I realized that EPA work is not limited to just an environmental issue, but it goes on to even conflict management and conflict resolution. And with this, I would say that Mr. Ali is doing a lot in this area to make sure that peace is prevailed. I will also call on lawmakers and district assemblies to strengthen local governance structures around land and then resources. Gold Board, I think they are doing so well. We can put our hands together for them. I think what they brought, it's really helping. EPA at the moment is establishing an office at the port where we will not trace only the excavator, but we will trace all the chemicals that come into the country and where they exactly send it. Because we all attest the fact that these chemicals, most of these chemicals are not supposed to be in the hands of the small-scale miners or the illegal miners. So how do they get to their hands? So when it comes to port, you should be able to know through our system, you should be able to know where all these chemicals are going, and you should be able to trace it. And I think that is one of the big projects of Professor Nanama Brown Kruche, the CEO of Environmental Protection Authority. And not only the port, but she's creating also dispatch department attached to the port, where we can make sure that we dispatch all those chemicals to where it is being, they are various destinations, so that we can supervise what they are going to use those chemicals for. As we all unpack illegal mining, let us not stop at condemnation. Let us build an alternative, a mining sector that is regulated, inclusive, and environmentally conscious. Let us dig, not for short-term profits, but for long-term legacy. Let us mine not just the gold in our soils, but the greatness in our values as Ghanaians. The treasures of Ghana are not only in the minerals, but in the people as well. So our rivers and the forests stands for our future. Let's preserve them, because they don't only belong to us. they also belong to the next generation that will come whilst we are no more. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said before, Awula could have decided to sit somewhere in Accra or UK, as she said it, and think about herself. But she's here fighting that one day the activities that destroy our water bodies will not be no more. Let us all rise up to the task and make sure that this activity is no more. Recently, my boss spoke passionately on media about what is going on our water bodies. That something has to be done. We need to take them out. There were many misinterpretations, but she's a mother and very passionate that our water bodies is no-go area. So our security has to move there and make sure that the place is cleared. You don't have to be told this twice. Thank you very much, and may God bless our homeland, Ghana. We believe to be here again and talk about the good stories of stopping illegal mining.
Thank you so much. Soon we have gotten to the end of our session today. And two things that keep scaring me or I'm thinking of. The way Awula kept talking about the drinks and the water we've been taking. In my mind, I'm like, should I go to the doctor to check my system? Is something going off in my system? The other thing is I'm curious to know how far. I think recently on our social media platforms, some miners said they had discovered crude oil. And they discovered it, yes, through mining. I'm curious to see how far that story would go. But I'll call on Dr. Hefsi to give us the closing remark, and then we would proceed straight to our photography session. Dr. Hefsi?
Thank you, Lorna. Okay. Before I give the closing remarks, we have one more parting gift to give our special guest. And so if you may please come back up. Okay. So I'm actually standing here in capacity as the chair of the research committee. And sometime last year, the president tasked all of us to make Galamsey the research agenda focus for the university. We held the first seminar November last year, of which we shared the outputs. And this was a follow-on full-day, almost full-day symposium to bring it round circle. If there's anything that everyone in this room should be walking away with, one, I know I certainly have learned a lot, but it's going away knowing that although you may feel removed from the Galamsey or illegal mining crisis, everyone in one way or the other is affected. So please leave with a tangible call for action that you are personally going to be taking on upon yourself, whether it's educating someone else about some of the things we've learned here today, whether it's, if you do still watch radio and watch TV and listen to radio, do please put your content on your channels and your mediums that you use, TikTok, Snapchat, etc., if we're not catching up to communicate on those platforms. And for those who do have research projects that are still ongoing, we're always here to support. So thank you all, and thank you to our panelists and standing in for our keynote. And yes, we are closed.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hefsi. Can we keep the club going for the leaders of Academic City for making this possible? Can we also appreciate Dr. Hefsi and Dr. Senna for spearheading today's activity. And also to our amazing panelists for sticking through from morning all through till this time. To the rep of our keynote speaker as well. And then most importantly for yourselves. Thank you so much for sticking through till this time. At this point, I'm going to ask that all the keynote speakers please move back to the podium, as well as the rep for the keynote speaker. And then if today happens to be a day where you came here purposely for this event, not academic city student, but you heard about this symposium and decided to come in, listen in and contribute, please join them up as well as we start with the photography session. So please, if we can have our panel persons join us up on stage, and then the rep. And for those who purposely joined in today for this symposium, please join in as well.
Good morning, everyone, and I'm really happy that we're going to have this conversation. It's a critical discussion that needs urgent attention, in my opinion, and I guess that everyone in this room agrees that Galamsey does need an urgent attention. We are just going to have a discussion, try to call the key people to action, and look forward to see how we can get responsible mining, done in our country.
To this, to give us also a broad or historical background or basis from where the fight started from. What were the gains, what were the failures, and then where are we now today?
The fight has been led primarily by the media, with other people supporting it. The government comes in, touches and go in 2017. And then as media, we decided that we're not just going to be reporting it, but now we're going to advocate for the change. And so the media coalition was formed.
And as a kid, I used to go fishing in the Pram River. One day, I was going back to Pramkese, and I was shocked at the Milo color of the river that I used to see fishes in. That's what actually drove us into this action.
The problem is like the Guru Boys thing that government is trying to handle in Accra. There is always that informal way of doing things. And I think that maybe the time has come for us to look at those people who are in the informal sector who need to survive, and then begin to craft some policies that will bring them up a bit.
This particular fight is a multifaceted issue, but when I hear people talk about the issues about poverty, there's no poverty here. It's an issue of greed. A level of money that people are seeing.
A certain degree of failure of political leadership, and it's sad to see the citizenry look up to political leadership, and the reality that hits us is that there's no solution coming in that direction.
That's why I'm happy we are here, where we get academia involved, where we get researchers involved to find sustainable solutions to this.
One of the issues is the nature of people involved, because if one is looking for livelihood, his behavior will be different. If the other one is also looking to create wealth, the behavior will also be different. So therefore, we need to understand how these ones operate, where they are coming from. And therefore, when we are dealing with them, we also know how to deal with them.
The challenge we have is that the arsonists are the firefighters.
Good morning, everyone, and I'm really happy that we're going to have
this There I was introduced to the Arduino, which can be used to make a lot of cool DIY projects. I decided to do biomedical engineering because I wanted to mix my biology knowledge with engineering.
Also, I'm studying biomedical engineering because I want to work in the tissue engineering space, which has to do with the creation of organs.
I chose biomedical engineering because of its opportunities in the healthcare, because you get to go into the technological field of healthcare.
Here at Academic City, there are great facilities and outstanding teachers.
I chose Academic City because of its advancements in its education and also the opportunity to get both academically and not academically.
I came to Academic City because of the numerous things I heard about them, especially their practical labs, which I think will help me a lot.
My reason for choosing Academic City is because I believe the school offers a holistic education as well as a world-class education, which helps you to become an all-rounded person. At the end of my 4-year program here at Academic City, I expect to come up with something different and something innovative to help people, especially those with disabilities, so they can live normal lives like the rest of us.
With our biomedical engineering program, you are guaranteed of a holistic, hands-on, world-class education, which prepares you to be future-ready to contribute to the entrepreneurship and innovation in the biomedical engineering space.